Well, this week the Obama administration showed its true colors in its amazingly anti-Israel basic attitude. Joe Biden, Vice President of the United States, goes to Israel, and that is while he was there, Israel announced that it's building new apartments in East Jerusalem. Now, admittedly, the timing wasn't so great, but Biden went ballistic. Then Clinton calls up, Secretary of State calls up Netanyahu and yells at him for 45 minutes. Supposedly Obama was livid. This is disgusting. Now, just look at this. First of all, why doesn't Israel have a right to build apartments in the East Bank, in the east area of Jerusalem? In fact, Netanyahu said he apologized for the timing. He didn't mean to embarrass the vice president. He didn't know that they were going to make the announcement then. This has been in the works for a long time. But he didn't disagree with the substance. Israel has every right to build in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem. It's the capital of the Jewish people. It's mentioned almost 700 times in the Hebrew Bible. Is Jerusalem mentioned even once in the Quran? Not once. This whole business that it's a holy place to Islam, I mean, what's that about? And there were no Arabs in East Jerusalem until fairly recently. We have photographs of East Jerusalem before 48 and 67. There were hardly anybody there. There's as many Jews there now as there are Arabs. Why do the Arabs think that, why do the Palestinians believe that they're going to, if they ever get a Palestinian state, that they're going to get East Jerusalem? Why should Jerusalem be divided again? The last time East Jerusalem was in Arab hands, when the Jordanians stole it in 48, they turned the Jewish sites into horse stables and destroyed our synagogues in the holy old city. So it's no guarantees that Israel's ever going to cede part of East Jerusalem to the Arabs, who are not entitled to it by any legal or religious meaning. But even if they would, that's something to be negotiated later. So the substance of it is ridiculous. But the main problem is the complete overreaction by the administration and their disgusting tilt towards the Palestinians. Okay, so let's put this on balance here. Israel built some apartments in East Jerusalem. Oh, that's the worst thing in the world. What did the Palestinians do? Right after Biden left, and admittedly the timing's better, they decide to honor a square in one of their areas after a mass murderer of Jews. New evidence comes out about Palestinian teachers continuing to teach to the grade school children that all of Israel's occupied Palestine. All of Israel. I mean, we're talking all of Israel in the Palestinian mythology. More rockets continue to go. So as Republican Minority Leader John Boehner said, the tone and substance we see emerging as a pattern for this administration are both disappointing and of great concern. Israel has been and remains a close friend and ally. We need to focus our efforts and energy on the issues of mutual concern for both countries, especially Iran. And Democratic Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley weighed in by saying this: I'm deeply concerned by statements of the Vice President and Secretary of State. This is even before Obama supposedly went ballistic. It's an irresponsible overreaction. No doubt the administration's overwrought rhetoric is designed to try and appease Palestinian politicians and convince them the U.S. is an honest power broker. This strategy includes ignoring the myriad provocations by Palestinian leaders that make pursuing peace a long and arduous process. Where, I ask, was the administration's outrage over the arrest and month-long incarceration by Hamas of a British journalist who was investigating arms smuggling into Gaza? Where was the outrage when the Palestinian Authority this week named a town square after a woman who helped carry out a massive terror attack against Israel? It has been the PA, Palestinian Authority, who refused to participate in talks for over a year, not the government of Israel. And then again, you have this curriculum where they're talking about all of Palestine is occupied. Yet once again, no concern was lodged by the administration. After all, while Hamas restocks its terror arsenal and fires rockets into Israel, U.S. policy remains completely tilted towards the Arabs. And she says, I call on the White House to rethink its counterproductive rhetoric and to affirm that the U.S. and Israel remain united in pursuing a fair, equitable, and honest peace process with the Palestinian powers that be. An article I read said it's breathtaking that an administration that can rarely muster condemnation for the most brutal regimes has lashed out repeatedly now against its sole democratic ally in the region. I mean, it's amazingly, it's idiotic. It's not only idiotic, it's immoral, philosophically reprehensible. And the administration, Obama, is clearly showing its true colors. It appeases terrorists. It appeases Chavez and the other dictators in the world. And its democratic ally, Israel, it continues to punish and harass and condemn and threaten. It's a disgusting display. I'm embarrassed by this administration. And just as the country continues to sink under the economic policies, so too now we see what's happening here with the administration undermining Israel. Secretary Clinton is planning to speak at AIPAC. I'm going to AIPAC next week, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, and I'm certainly not going to clap as I did before for her. How dare she lash out at Netanyahu? The Jews are building apartments for people to live in the holiest city to the Jewish people, and they yell at Netanyahu, while the Arabs celebrate mass murderers and they don't say a word. I mean, unless you're completely biased in favor of the Arabs, you got to see how completely immoral and philosophically reprehensible this administration's acting from top to bottom in this regard.